all these threats. So much of it has been done. It's been so long. So much has happened. Do you know what? Get a ticket and get to the back of the line. It's Monday morning and I'm in the yard. We are now going to continue to fill the area where we dug out the Ashville swamp last week. You saw me walking through this area on Saturday and there was like a ½ a meter difference. We filled up some of it and now we're going to use the shovel to fill in the rest of it. We have 10 loads coming in from a company later and we need to ensure that we fill this because that company has never come in here before and we don't want lorries to drive into this area and tip themselves over. So the shovel is going to get started working right now. The company which are coming in later to tip 10 loads of non-haz, which will be going on a train. Click here to watch a video where we load our first train. I've offered them some very competitive collect rates on 6F5. Now they are a local company and they do have their own material being processed. However, while they're in here and they're tipping, it could make a lot more sense if they load 6F5 in here to go to their next jobs, or even some economy topsoil. I know the boss man there, so I gave him a call and offered rates. I have a meeting at 10 o'clock with a freight operator and we're going to have a walk around. I know we can, but they want to make sure themselves that we can in fact accept jumbo trains in here, which will be 40 wagons plus. Now at the moment, we come straight in, the locomotive uncouples, runs around and pushes the wagons into the yard and they sit on the primary line. If we go back to the old school, how we used to do it in the old yard and go to Colnbrook, turn around, come back and reverse in, I think if we did it that way, the jumbo trains would work perfectly because we could get around 12 wagons on the secondary line all the way to the stopper. And then we can, in fact, fit 29 on the primary line. This was measured when Network Rail came in, when we had our first delivery of material. Click here to watch that video also. I'm jumping in with one of the drivers to show them where to tip. I'm just trying to see the experience being in here because we've just filled in all of this here. Yeah. This was very bumpy. It feels all right.
I've been a lot worse, trust me.
I was hitching a ride with you thinking that you wouldn't know where to go, but... okay. Well, the shovel driver will let you know where to tip. Oh, okay. Thanks for the lift.
No worries.
Have a good day. We did last week and the work we did today is definitely an improved driver experience. It's not as bumpy as it used to be, which is better for the driver and better for the suspension on the lorry. The driver I jumped in with, he said,
"I've been in much worse yards."
Not sure if that's a compliment, but at least this one isn't the worst. I definitely don't think it's the best at the moment, but it is not the worst. Now I need to order a couple of batteries for the Volvo volumetric because it's been sat there for so long, as my townie would say,
The batteries are stone dead.
but I also need to order some fuel filters. Now, I ordered fuel filters last week. We gave the registration, but the new engine on the lorry, we didn't give any numbers off that. And while the engines are both the same year, I believe that they've got different fuel filter housing fitted, which means that it's a different fuel filter. So I don't know, Volvo do that sometimes within a year. They change the housing based on if there's any new parts have been superseded. So I'm gonna have to pull the old fuel filters off the new engine and give Volvo those part numbers. Then when we collect the batteries, we can collect the new fuel filters and try and get that volumetric turned on tomorrow. Last week, I showed you the document which I created to assess the viability of us creating the concrete ourselves in the yard to be poured, or getting a price from third parties and seeing if in fact it was cheaper for a third party to come in and pour the concrete for us. Now we're going to have a company in to do the actual preparing and labor element of it. It's just the actual supply of the concrete which I am assessing the viability of. Now I finally got all the rates from the suppliers in for the delivery of sand and gravel. Now at the moment, the prices I've got are by road, not by rail. Now I thought the meeting today was at 10 o'clock. In fact, it's at 2 o'clock. We may have a much better price once we have the prices back for jumbo trains of sand and gravel. But at the moment, I'm just going to stick with the rates by road. So having a look at the document, this is not the price, but let's say if the rates I have just received are £30 for sand, £30 for stone, and £180 for cement. If we go down to our C40 mix here, we know that there's 877 kilograms per cube. There's just over a ton. And that means that the cost of the sand is $26.31 and it is $32.10 per cubic meter for those materials. Now we need 345 kilograms of cement in each cube. So altogether, it is going to cost us £120.51 for us to produce the concrete in this yard. Now this doesn't include a small allowance for water. It doesn't include diesel because the lorry, it's not going to fly over there. It still has to drive around in the yard. And it doesn't include any wages because the lads who are going to be using the machines, Flo, Teu and Liviu, they work in the yard anyway. And if they weren't doing that, they'd be doing something else. But I will include a small allowance at some point. So with this figure, I now have a clear comparison with the third parties who have provided us rates also. And my sole purpose at this desk with this document is to make a calculated decision. Not, oh yeah, I want to see the Ashville lorries pouring the concrete in the yard because it will look better and everything will be great and we'll all live in a lollipop house on Gumdrop Lane. No, whoever can provide it at the best rate, that is how we're going to do it. A bit like if the drill sergeant from Forrest Gump turned up and said, Gump, what's your sole purpose at this desk? And I said, to do whatever this document tells me to do, drill sergeant. And then he would say, God damn it, Daniel, that's the most outstanding answer I've ever heard. You must have an IQ of 160. You are gifted, Daniel Ashville. So I'm going to remove all the emotion and wanting to see the lorries doing any work and any type of rebirth of Ashville lorries. We are going to do what makes financial sense. And now let's head into central London to see how the lads are getting on. For fire regulations and safety, the fireplace unit needs to be boxed in on all sides with fire-rated walls. On two sides, the build-up is 2 skins of fireboard, which you can see in pink. And on the front side, we're creating a metal stud wall from 70mm C-stud. Like all the other partitions in the property, The bottom track is fitted with an acoustic strip to dampen sound transfer. When boarding, we fit a 12mm cement board with countersunk screws and allow the fireplace to protrude by 4mm as a finishing detail. Between the cement board, we fit fire mastic on the joints to seal, and we're ready for finishing. Just getting the 6F5 as high as we possibly can, and we have now filled in this area so it is nice and flat. Volvo were back in touch, and apparently, even though the numbers on the old fuel filters are different from the new ones, apparently is exactly the same part. So we're going to need to go down there and collect our batteries and our fuel filters. We should be ready to fire up that Volvo first thing in the morning. Time now is 1:28 and I am waiting for 2 p.m. for my meeting on jumbo trains to begin.
But if you can discharge from the secondary line, that makes it easier.
As soon as we get down there, I'll pull over the LH60 and you can see it live in living colour.
Yeah.
If you were able to offload the whole length, where would the end point be? Because you wouldn't be right
The
here.
loco would be about there, wouldn't it, roughly? The end of the loco, if you were up to the gate, that's about 6 metres, isn't it? Up to that first.
Each of these is 6 metres.
Yeah, so that's about, so the loco, so the first wagon would be about here, basically.
That's your wagon
But
there.
I'm
yeah?
guessing you're not going to discharge where this decorative stone is.
No, not at the moment.
I've got photos. I would just do one measure, and then we'll work it out from that.
Flo? No, I didn't say it doesn't fit. Can you grab the LH60 and bring it here? We need to see if we can offload that second line. Thank you, Flo.
27?
Yeah, 27, 26, 27, yeah. 27.9 it says.
Okay, so let's see what we get on here.
So
Let
we
me
should
just
be able
do
to
this
do-
measure. I'll be back in a moment.
It's picked up the pace. Dropped it into second. About to do a real life test to see if the LH60 can reach the secondary line here. Now, when you first glance, you might think, yeah, it can definitely do it. But what you have to bear in mind is you have to be clear of the wagons on the primary line so you don't hit the top of it. And then you've got to be able to get inside the other wagon as well and be able to clear it. Is here the same or there? The same? You happy with that? Try it there, please. Oh, look at that. Try to drop it into the wagon. Flo, let's imagine that you've got to scrape it out. Try that. Wait 1 minute. I just need to see if you'd be clear here. What do we think? Now clear the wagon. Looks like it'll work, doesn't it? No, it's fine. The wagons are about that height. It's a metre off the ground. So we should be okay. What do we think, Flo? Yeah?
Yeah.
We'll double check the notes.
I think 40.
Meeting over, it went relatively well. We worked out that comfortably 40 wagons could fit in here, and generally Flo offloads a wagon in about 12 minutes. But we both agreed that it will take longer on the secondary line where there could be 14 wagons. So we were basing it on 18 minutes on these and having 26 or 27 on the main line and 12 minutes on those. So with 2 half-an-hour breaks slotted into that, we calculated that it will probably take around 9 hours to offload, and then you need to give the rail operator a chance to actually reverse everything in, then do the checks and leave. So it'd be an entire day, 11 hours in total to bring that jumbo train in. And actually realize anything over 35 wagons is classified as a jumbo train. So they've gone away to do some maths and put together a proposal, and hopefully running much larger trains means that the cost per ton can be reduced because it's just the same loco pulling more wagons. Not exactly as I hoped the meeting would go, but it is possible. The LH60 will work, and they said that they may send the first train with 35 as a test, and then the next one 40, and see after that maybe 41, 42. But we'll have to work it out when we're doing it. And that's it for Monday. It's Tuesday morning. I'm not in the yard. I'm at Volvo in Hayes. We didn't get a chance yesterday to pop down and pick up the bits, and they didn't have anyone available to deliver. So I popped down this morning to get them and bring them back to my townie, and hopefully we can get this volumetric started. When we go to turn her on, we're gonna have a bit of a problem with the diesel feeding through. So what we're going to do is drop an airline into the fuel tank and try and, force the diesel through. This will turn over quite a bit. Now we've got new batteries, the cranking shouldn't be a problem, but we need the diesel to get through to the engine, and then once that's happened, then the oil and water and everything will start to circulate. Once it has done and it's been running for a while, we'll need to let it find its level, and then we're probably going to have to top up everything. Hopefully I don't miss it, because I now need to head up to my office because I am going to be on a podcast.
Do you remember the 2 properties I told you about that had equity?
Yeah.
I had to sign over the 2 properties to them. I had to give them to them so they would release the shares in the company so I could take back control of Ashville got nicked off me. This has never been in Weekly or any of that. It got because I'm not allowed to talk about it, and technically how am I supposed to talk about it? And furthermore, you lot have put something in my drink because I don't know why I'm telling you this.
Engine is fired up and sounding good. When it's idling, it's not misfiring or anything like that. We had to set it up to prime to feed some diesel through first, but once it got started, it was working the finest. Just turn the engine off now to let all of the oil and water and everything settle. Then give it a look around again, just seeing if we've got any leaks anywhere. and then give a top up if we need to, and then get it fired up again. There are a couple of bits which still need to be fitted on. Once they're on, hopefully I can actually pull it out of the workshop, which it's been trapped in for ages, and give it a little drive around the yard. And now, let's head in to central London, see how the lads are getting on. In the past, you saw us building up the walls with ply first and then a skin of plasterboard in order to have a firm fixing for units, which is perfect for brackets like these, which will enable us to hang the kitchen wall units. Once the carcasses are hung, they're fixed together for stability. The silver channel you can see between the carcasses acts as a void for your hand when opening the handleless doors. Some of the under-counter units need to be raised by a few mil before fitting, so we use inflatable air wedges to get them positioned perfectly. We have end panels to fit in various parts of the kitchen for various reasons. In most areas, it's to cover the side of exposed carcasses on the ends and provide a clean and aesthetically pleasing finish in the same colour as the cupboard doors. As work progresses, we can refit the doors. They were already fitted, but detached and removed. While doing this, we begin to fit the internal shelves, which are all adjustable. The carcasses arrived with the drawer runners already fitted and the drawers partly pre-assembled. We fit the drawers into the drawer runners and ensure the soft close mechanisms are all working properly. Then we measure, line up, pre-drill and fix fixings which attach to the drawer system to fit the front drawer faces. The client has chosen an under-mounted ceramic sink. The top of the sink will be in line with the bottom of the worktop. The sink is extremely heavy and will need to be supported on all sides. So we're routering the units for the outer lip of the sink to sit and be supported. Checked all the oils, all the levels, all looks well. Let's see if we can have a nice quick start up. Oh, doesn't that sound good? I'm not saying I'm like some sort of animal whisperer. You know, there's people like they can talk to dogs, but when I hear the engine of a lorry, I can kind of tell, is it misfiring? Is it working well? Is there a problem? Is it missing a beat? And it sounds good. Dashboard is clear as well. Now, before I said, oh, this is going to take 10 days, and some people said, oh, it takes 10 days, it's so long. I said that because I thought we were going to encounter problems. It went a lot smoother than I expected, and it only took a couple of days. Now, this is the first drive. Gone into gear. I didn't hear any clunks on the gearbox. Foot off the brake. Handbrake is off. We are moving. I'm going to take my time now. Hey, the brakes are still a bit sharp. I'm well happy with this. All the cameras are still working as well. Got a bit of work to do at the back because the lorry was cannibalized for a little while. We were pinching lights off this and stuff, which were going on to 14 RMC and a couple of the others. But now that this one is ready to work again, doesn't that engine sound good? I'm not going to push it too much at the moment. Now we're going to see if reverse works. Well, the white noise is still working. Power steering's working well. Let's go on the weighbridge. How are we, Si? Yeah, she's doing well. Yeah, it's going. Sounds good. All right. Gonna have to give it a little bit of power here. Now we're going to reverse back into the workshop. And this concludes our very first trip in our old but new lorry. This volumetric is good to go back out on the road again. Really happy about that. And that is it for Tuesday. Wednesday morning, I'm not in the yard. I'm back at the refurbishment project for a client meeting. We're going through samples and making decisions. We had an entire makeshift desk flooded with loads of samples, and we began the process at the fireplace in the central location. We brought a tile, which we thought would be fantastic to clad the fireplace, and we showed the client what, in fact, a real copper would look like over time because of the heat which the fireplace was radiating. They didn't like what would happen to the copper, but they also didn't like the tile. So we've actually gone back to a much more simple plastered finish. If they decide to put a finish on it later, they know that the way in which we're going to build it and the finishing round the edge where it meets the fireplace at the bottom, that finishing will be slightly different because it will be an afterthought. Also, on the subject of the fireplace, we showed the client options of how to fit the television, because originally there was going to be two, one on the living side and one on the dining side. And the client decided out of the three options, they at first looked at having the shelf, but then they decided to recess the television to protect it from the heat from the fireplace. Then, as conversations developed, they removed the television on the living room side and decided to make the television on the opposite wall slightly bigger, to go from a 65 to a 75 inch. In order to compensate for this change in size, we changed the dimensions of the bespoke cabinetry. And then we moved on to picking samples, and the sample was confirmed, and now that woodwork will be used to build the unit around the television and the fireplace on that wall. The same for continuity will be used on the bespoke champagne display. So a fantastic meeting. All is moving well. The meeting is actually continuing at the moment, but I've just popped into the garden to get some sunshine while David works his way through the samples, and we have the drawings prepared to submit to the council for the pre-app. Now, the client did approve the sketches we made a couple of weeks back, but now the drawings are prepared. We just need them to confirm again. So, once the client approves, we'll be ready to submit. And if you see all the trouble I just went to get that shot by myself, anyway, I'm heading back to the yard. That's what happens when you try to get shots on your own. You drop your DJI and damage it. Much like running lorries, it was all or nothing with selling lorries today. A gentleman came in with his son, a very big firm. Never met them before, got on really well with them. So if we do start running lorries again in the future, we'll definitely work with them. And we did a deal, and he bought 2 Volvos. Now, I believed I sold 4 Scanias to someone else. Went into the yard, when looking at the Volvos, and I'm counting the Scanias, and I was like, there's only 3 Scanias here. What's going on? I've checked my paperwork, and I've sold 4 Scanias, and I've only got 3. I've gone and got myself baffled and confused with all of the number plates of 17 and 19 MUD, MUK, ROC, ROK. I've gone and got myself baffled. And I've sold a lorry to someone which we don't have, and they've paid us for it. So I've jumped on the phone right away. Massive error on my part. Very unprofessional. And I've called them and I said, look, I'm really sorry. Send me your bank details so I can send you back your money for that one lorry. And the guy's kind of like yawned and said,
Oh, we'll work it out in the morning.
I'm like, no. We don't need to work it out in the morning. I'm really sorry for my error. I need to send you back your money. You are not going to get this lorry. I need to send it back straight away. And he said,
I'm not really bothered, mate. These things happen all the time. I borrow a lot of lorries. I know you haven't done it intentionally. Just work it out with me in the morning. I'll send you the bank details, issue a credit. We'll work it out.
So luckily for me, he took it very well, because that could look really bad and it can be interpreted in a number of ways. But the fact of the matter is that I really dropped the ball there. In doing the deal with the 2 other Volvos, I've got to change a couple of tyres on the non-Has lorry. By the way, the plate is not for sale with the lorry. On the passenger side, the gentleman wasn't happy with a couple of the wheels. And as you see in the last few weeks, we've been building up a lot of good 295s on rims. So I'm going to do a little bit of a video later, and the lads in the yard will have instructions for the morning to change all the tyres on one side of that lorry for ones with some more tread depth on them. And I'm going to do the invoice for the gentleman now, and he says he wants to collect tomorrow. So as of this point, all Ashville tippers have been sold. We had 19, and I managed to sell 20 of them. So now get rid of that. And we're back to 19, and 19 have been sold. And both Amaroks have also been sold today, and all are going to be collected in the next few days. So all we're going to have left is a couple of volumetrics. This one, I've agreed to change 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, which are going to be decent. Probably give 2 of these and try to match up some of these with some even tread. Also have to make an order because I made another mistake at the back of the volumetric here and up here. Those are amber beacons which flash. These are the old ones which have stopped working. And if you have a look, there are 3 pins. Matowny asked me to order them, which I did. So they look exactly the same, but these are 2-pin, which means that they are only indicators. So when we took these and we put those up here, they only stayed a solid amber, which defeats the purpose of having beacons. Now I know the lorry's just going to be in the yard working for now, but eventually the lorry will need to be on the road and will need to be sold. So it's better to just get it right now. And that is it for Wednesday. It's Thursday. We're in the yard and we have a meeting on the train weighing system. Your ramp's right here. Keep it going. Keep it going. Look at that. I'm happy to see the first ramp I put in place is still working well. Look how smart the yard looks now.
Very clean.
Since the last one was in, we kind of learnt from our mistakes. There's one pile of non-has there. There's another one here, and we've left massive gaps so the LH60 can get round. So we now have 4 piles We had a scrape and a clean out along the side here. We've cleaned the track again.
Would you want about this mushroom or something? This?
Yeah, see, can you see? It can.
That bird?
Yeah, flange can drag on it. It can affect it a bit, but I think you've got a combination of stuff.
As in it was leaning as well.
Yeah, you got that lean. You've got this transition, and as mad as it sounds, because we think that's firm and that's firm, but that's firm and that's very firm, and that transition from a relatively spongy material compared to that one does have quite an influence. So
You say because there's flex here but none there.
There's flex there but none there, but we'll not detect it. That being said, if you were all on ballasted track, or you were 3 or 4 wagon lengths away from that transition, you'd never notice. It wouldn't have an influence because everything's consistent.
Okay.
Or if you're all on concrete, that consistency is key.
What could be a major problem here is that this side is slightly higher than this side because of the curve. Now this puts the readings through the weighing system incorrectly, and it looks like the axles are imbalanced.
We'll measure up on that length. Is there a pen in there?
The normal intervals of sleepers, one was removed from each. This was every other one. And there are concrete sleepers in here.
Whatever it is, 1.2 or 1.4, you'll have another sleeper around here somewhere, possibly another sleeper about there. You want to cut your concrete, so it could be just as easy to cut 600 or 700 here, because you might not be on a sleeper then.
Meeting didn't start great, but then it began to get a little bit better as people started making helpful suggestions. The weighing system company are suggesting that the weighing system is further down. They got the surveying equipment out and they said there's a part of a track which is more or less straight, and this could be a better place to have it. Now we would have to excavate some of the concrete out. Now, if you remember the installation of the train track, click here to watch that video. Where the rails join, we have a sleeper either side, and then we have sleepers spaced out. So we need to ensure that we don't begin to excavate where there's a sleeper and work out a position where the weighing system could come into the rails from one side. We won't need to excavate on both sides. However, on Tuesday of next week, there's another company coming out to show us a separate system. So I'm trying to weigh up all of the options before I make any decisions and start cutting up my lovely concreted train track. Before I got in this morning, the lads changed over the tyres. There we go. And the gentleman and his son are people of their word. They transferred the money over this morning. I've sent Simon their details. He's going to change the logbook ownership online, and they'll be in to collect later today. On one side of the L-shaped terrace, the decking is complete. The two sides meet on a 90-degree angle. We're starting the second side, which is the more challenging of the two. We wanted to use a laser, but the sun was far too bright, so we went old school again and used a string line. We completed one full line of decking first, which needed limited cuts, and we're using this as a reference to work our way outwards on both sides, firstly to the house and then to the balustrade. This whole weighing system is turning into a little bit of a predicament, but all is not lost no matter how complicated it gets. Because of the video which I put out showing how the system worked, I've had a number of companies reach out, one of which is internationally based, and they sent me some pictures of a weighing system which was set up in some concrete. Now, it's not exactly the same setup as ours, but it's just to show that the system can work in concrete, but they're not in this country. If they want to come over and have a meeting, or if they have an installer here, and the company are new to track weighing systems, I need to ensure I put something in place which works and is going to make Network Rail and the freight operator comfortable. I spoke to our friends at FCC, and some larger projects are due to start within the next 2 weeks. Now, when we want a train next week, we have to book it by the Wednesday of the week before now. So we're definitely not going to have a train next week, but hopefully I can get this sorted out early next week, and then we can book a train for the week after, because all the non-has is beginning to pile up a bit, and this is a volume game. As quickly as we get it in, I need to try and get it out and make as much space as possible. So lads, another 2 gone. A complete difference when you deal with someone who buys lorries outright for cash and people get finance. Just because someone got finance, it doesn't mean they don't have the financial resources to buy it outright. It may just be a choice for whatever business and tax purposes. But Danny Andrews came to look yesterday, last night, paid the money this morning, and came to collect today. They're taking it straight to Thompson. They want to change a couple of the wings. Then they're going to spray it in their colours, and they're going to have it out on the road within about 2 weeks. Pleasure doing business with him. And he invited me for a bit of grub. He only invited me for it, not both of us. Yeah. He wouldn't be able to afford the bill. Yeah, he wouldn't be able to afford the bill. I was just talking for ages, and it weren't even recording.
That's on the reel.
That said 1 take.
Yeah, 1 take, but it weren't recording. I was talking to Danny Andrews before he left about the different types of work with the tippers. The majority of his work is day work on government infrastructure and construction projects. And we were talking about the difference in trying to run tippers job by job all day, trying to utilize them so they never run around empty, and how much more hard work it is. If you have a lorry on day work and you have confirmed work for 6 months, you may think that you're earning less, like on day 1, day 2, but over the process of the entire contract, I'd definitely say that I feel like you'd make more money knowing every day where the lorry's going to be and your expenses are covered and exactly how much is you're going to make. And then you may get a lucky turn sometimes. You may not burn hardly any diesel on a day because of the work on a project. And one day you might not be so lucky. But it's definitely easier than trying to piece together 10, 12 loads a day for a tipper trying to run round loaded in every direction. I don't know. Maybe on the next one. He's been at it for the last 40 years, so he had all the connections and all the know-how to do it. On the next one, Si? Maybe a bit of day work? On the next one, Friday?
Who knows?
Who knows? Exactly that. Who knows? It's Friday morning, and we're in the yard. And another lorry and an Amarok are about to be collected. We say goodbye to some more kit, and there was a time when it was bothering me a bit mentally, I'm going to be honest, but now I feel kind of excited that without the lorries, it's going to free up more time for me. And I'm surprised that I feel like that, because I've been in such a low place for a long time, and in the past few days, some of the things which have happened in the last couple of months, they're beginning to come to a head with the restructure and legal battles. And I'm having people reaching out, and there are threats, not physical threats, but legal threats, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and we have the power and we have the backing of this, and we're going to do that because you did that. And when people do that, they never consider what they did to back you into a corner. And when they backed you into that corner, they were sitting around doing their normal job at their desk. At 5 o'clock, they went home, and the decisions they made shattered your life and changed the direction of it. And now, when things begin to uncover and they think that they may not have fully flattened me, and even if they have, I found a way to get around it and move forward with my life. They want to start putting threats in place about legals, etc. Now, I'm always a person that says, let's try and avoid litigation and have a sit down. But if you're not going to do what they're telling you to do, at that point, there's no point in sitting down and discussing anything. And I'm not saying I'm just gonna say bring it on, but what I am saying is, see all these threats, so much of it has been done, it's been so long, so much has happened. Do you know what? Get a ticket and get to the back of the line, because I've been through all this. I can't possibly be threatened into fear. I'm beyond all that. So anything anyone wants to do, two things. One, you have to get the ticket and you have to take a walk, get right to the back, you know, and then your turn will come. And while you're in the line waiting to get to the front, consider your part and how we got here, and if you provoked me and what option I had. Consider that. When we began this project, we isolated the incoming water and created a temporary feed for us to use while working. Now the mixers, taps and toilets are installed and need to be tested, Chris is reinstating the main connection. We then use metal stud and plasterboard to box the area in. We could have used normal plasterboard, but we had some fireboard left from the fireplace works, so I thought we'd use this instead. Once the work is complete, access panels will be created so the client has the ability to shut off the main water and gas if need be. Meanwhile, back at the Ashville yard. Saturday, we're in the yard. We're doing a bit of filming for the standalone video, how to make recycled aggregates. We've got the drone up and I'm just making my way across the material for the hero shot. The weather's been really good, so the processing is going really well. And I'm getting in my steps today, climbing up and down off this Ashville mountain of 6F5. Nice. Yesterday, I went for late lunch with Michael, my brother, and Jackie, my sister. Foxy was meant to join us, but he couldn't make it. He got stuck in a meeting. Probably one of the first times I've sat down with Michael and we haven't filmed because we were due a long catch up and talking with the O'Donovans
laying it all on the table, what I've been going through and the plans for the future and their plans for the future. I have to say that it's exciting, but the landscape is most definitely changing, and there are a number of opportunities which are presenting themselves. And I feel that we will be able to work together. There's bits I'll be able to do with Michael and bits I'll be able to do with our sister, Jackie. I'm waiting for the price to come in for this supply of concrete, but the initial indications are that companies locally will be able to supply us concrete on bottle mixers for less money than it's going to cost us to produce it in the yard on volumetrics with all the material delivered here and not paying additional insurance and driver wages and everything. Don't ask me how they can do it, but I'm not going to argue with them and say no. So prematurely, possibly, I have put the 2 remaining concrete lorries which are working, that's AS11 RMC and AS14 CON. I put them both on eBay because there was a lot of interest in them, but I pulled them off. Those are the only 2 remaining lorries, apart from the one which we are still working on to get back on the road. I'll see what interest comes in, and I'll weigh it all up on Monday when I have a price for the supply of concrete. And that's it for Asheville Weekly, episode 236. Click here for the Asheville website. Click here to subscribe to our channel. Click down here for an Asheville video you may not have seen before, and click down here for last week's episode, which was number 235. Is this week 236, Luke? I'm guessing that it is. I just lose count. It is, yeah. I just lose count. Yeah, good guess. Go ahead. That's it. We still rolling in case I do foolishness.